At Thanksgiving, my dad sneered. Still the family disappointment, huh? My mom didn't defend me, just smiled. I took a final bite of pie and left. 2 weeks later, my brother called. Why did my rent bounce? I said, maybe the disappointment's finally pulling back. Then my brother got angry and... Thanksgiving at my parents' house has always been a bit of a circus. Not the fun kind either, more like a sad, traveling one with 3 animals and a broken tent. But every year I go, hoping it'll be different. Maybe someone will ask about my job without twisting it into a jab. Maybe someone will remember that I actually exist outside of family group texts and emergencies. I guess I still held out some pathetic little hope. The day started off deceptively normal. The house smelled like burnt rolls and too much cinnamon. My mom had already opened the wine, which meant she was about 2 glasses in and coasting on autopilot. My dad was in the living room, watching the game and yelling at the TV like the quarterback could hear him. Josh and Rachel arrived late, as usual. They came through the door with a store-bought pie and Levi on Josh's shoulders, like they were some quirky young family in a holiday commercial. My mom made this huge deal about the pie, even though she had specifically asked me to bring dessert. She barely glanced at the box I handed her, cheesecake from a bakery that people wait in line for. It just sat on the counter untouched while everyone raved about Josh's dried-out pumpkin thing like it was some sacred offering. Josh had always been the golden boy. Failed 2 majors in college, dropped out, got a job at some logistics warehouse through a friend of my dad's, married a woman who treats everyone like they're standing in her sunbeam, and somehow still ended up the success story. I, on the other hand, make over 6 figures working remotely in a job I actually enjoy, travel a few times a year, have no debt, and apparently, I'm the one they whisper about. Dinner was typical. Tense in the way that only family dinners can be, where everyone acts polite, but the air is packed with unspoken things. I mostly listened. They asked nothing about my life, even though I'd just gotten back from Spain the week before. At one point, I mentioned it casually, and Rachel tilted her head like I'd said I joined a cult. Must be nice, she said. Just traveling all the time, not worrying about anyone but yourself. Josh laughed, and that was enough to derail the rest of the meal. The food wasn't even good. Turkey dry, stuffing bland, gravy lumpy. But I ate anyway, because I knew if I didn't, they'd say I was being dramatic. I sat through it, right until dessert. My cheesecake still unopened. Everyone going in on the store-bought pie like it was gourmet. Then came the moment. I had just taken a final bite, just savoring it quietly, when my dad, without warning, looked at me and said, "Still the family disappointment, huh?" He didn't say it with any heat. No punch. Just flat, like he was stating a fact. My fork stopped halfway down. I looked around the table. No one flinched. My mom. Smiling. That weird smile she puts on when she doesn't want to admit something's wrong. Rachel was pretending Levi had said something funny, even though he was just chewing. Josh was already on to his second slice like the comment hadn't happened. I didn't say anything. Just stood up, grabbed my jacket off the back of the chair, and walked out. I didn't even slam the door. Didn't need to. The silence behind me said enough. No one followed me. No one called out. I got in my car and drove back to my apartment, where I finally opened the cheesecake and had a proper dessert. That night, I didn't sleep much. Not because I was angry, that part passed fast, but because I realized something I should have seen years ago. They didn't respect me. Not even a little. I was useful, sure. I helped Josh get the apartment he lived in. I kept my distance when they needed space. I never asked for help or brought drama. But they didn't care. And that night, I decided I was done playing the role they'd written for me. 2 weeks later, the phone rang. Josh. First time since Thanksgiving. Why did my rent bounce? I let the silence hang for a second before answering. Maybe the disappointment's finally pulling back. He didn't laugh. Didn't say anything at first. Then his voice got louder. You serious right now? Dead serious. Then he got angry. Like really angry. He didn't even try to hide the anger in his voice. The second I said the words, maybe the disappointment's finally pulling back. There was this pause, just a few seconds of silence that told me he got it. Then he lost it. What the hell does that mean? I didn't answer right away. I think I just let the quiet hang there on purpose. He kept going, his voice getting sharper. Accused me of being cold, arrogant, selfish, said I'd changed. Like that was a bad thing. I let him go off for a while. He talked about Levi. About how Rachel's hours got cut. About how the bills were piling up. And then he threw the word family at me like a knife. We're family, Nate. You don't do this to family. That's when I told him. Starting next month, rent's going up to $1,500. Silence again. Then a small, sarcastic laugh from his end. You serious? Dead serious. I reminded him that the place was fully renovated. In this city, $1,500 is still below market for a 2-bedroom in that building. I'd just been giving him a break for way too long. A break? You call that a break? You've been paying $500 a month for 4 years, Josh. That's not a break. That's practically a gift. You couldn't get a shared basement room for that in this zip code. He said I was screwing over a family with a kid. Said he thought I had a heart. Then he hung up. A few hours later, Rachel texted me. A wall of messages. All emotional, full of guilt-tripping stuff like, Levi doesn't deserve this. I thought you loved your nephew. We'll end up homeless if you keep pushing. Then she added something at the end that stuck with me. You wouldn't be making this change if we were your family. That was the moment I stopped second-guessing anything. I didn't reply. I didn't call back. I didn't feel the need to explain anymore. For years, I'd done the nice thing. I'd given them the apartment even though I originally wanted to rent it out properly. They'd begged me not to go public with it. Said it'd be just until they got on their feet. That was 4 years ago. 3 days later, Josh showed up at my door. No warning. No heads up. Just pounding like he owned the building. I opened it slowly, and there he was, red-faced and breathing heavy. You're actually doing this? You're raising rent 3 times over just like that? It was more than 3 times, actually. But I didn't say that. I just asked him calmly what he thought was fair. Fair? We have a child. You knew we were barely making it. And you decide to pull the rug out from under us? You disgust me. I told him again, $1,500. Or find somewhere else. He scoffed. Said I had no idea what real life was like. That my little remote job and vacation lifestyle didn't make me better than anyone. Then he made the mistake. He said, you wouldn't survive a month if you didn't have that damn salary. You think it makes you special? You've always been a joke. So I looked him dead in the eye and said, new rent's $2,500. His jaw actually dropped. He laughed, like I was bluffing. But I wasn't. He stormed out, muttering something about lawyers. But there was no lease. It was all verbal. I'd left it loose on purpose, trusting them like an idiot. I thought that was the worst of it. But a few days later, I found out something that made my blood run cold, and not from him. It wasn't even Josh who told me. I was at a coffee shop near my place, sitting by the window, half listening to 2 women at the next table talk about rent prices. One of them mentioned the building where Josh lived, my building. I wasn't really paying attention until she said something that made my ears perk up. Apparently, she had just heard a unit in the same complex, and said it was going for $3,400 a month. She was floored that someone in her building was renting the exact same layout for $500. Her friend laughed and said, yeah, that's the guy who's got some kind of deal with the owner. I heard from his wife that the brother's rich and stupid, just gives them the place out of guilt. I froze. I leaned over and asked, sorry, did you say Rachel? They looked surprised. One of them nodded. Yeah, she lives with her husband and kid on the 5th floor. You know her? Unfortunately. I left without finishing my drink. By the time I got home, I was seething. It wasn't even about the money at that point. It was the narrative they were spinning, that I was some oblivious idiot they were leeching off. That I had so much money I didn't know what to do with it, so I just gave away apartments like party favors. I pulled up my texts, scrolled through years of half-hearted thank yous and vague promises to catch up when things got better. I thought about all the times I'd been told to wait, that they were almost stable, that next year would be different. And now this? Rachel going around bragging about their secret deal like I was some clueless ATM? I hadn't even told anyone else in my life what they were paying. Not because I was ashamed, but because I genuinely didn't want them to feel embarrassed. I kept it quiet to protect their pride. And they used it to feed their own story. I sent Josh a single text. You've got 2 weeks to move out. That's the end of it. He called immediately. I let it ring out. Then he called again. And again. Finally, I picked up. What the hell are you talking about? You heard me. You're evicting us? There's no lease. You're not a tenant. You're a guest. And guests don't talk behind the backs of the people giving them shelter. He started shouting again. Said I was overreacting. Said it was just a joke, that Rachel didn't mean anything by it. He actually tried to blame the woman from the cafe, like I should be mad at her for eavesdropping instead of mad at them for lying. You've got 2 weeks, I repeated. Rachel showed up the next day. She didn't even knock. Just stood outside my door and buzzed until I opened. She launched right into it, crying, pleading, saying she didn't mean for it to come out that way. Said it was taken out of context. I asked her one question. Did you or did you not tell people I was giving you the place because I'm rich and stupid? She didn't answer. Just stood there looking cornered. Josh pulled up minutes later. Told her to get in the car. He didn't even look at me when they drove off. Later that night, I got a call from my mom. And that's when I realized just how deep this went. When my mom called, I almost didn't pick up. But curiosity got the better of me. She started soft, like nothing had happened. Asked how I was, mentioned something about a new casserole she was trying. Then, after a short pause, she slid into it. Josh told us you're kicking them out. Is that true? I said it was. Nathan, you can't just throw a family with a child out on the street. You have to be reasonable. I didn't say anything at first. Then I asked her how much she thought rent goes for in that building. She guessed, wildly low. I corrected her. And how much has Josh been paying? $500. She went quiet. For a moment, I thought maybe she'd finally understand. But no. Her voice came back firmer. So you've been fine with that amount for years, and now suddenly you want to triple it? Why now? I told her the truth. That I overheard Rachel talking about me like I was an idiot. That they'd been leeching off me while bragging behind my back. That I'd let it slide for too long, and now I was done. She didn't take it well. That's family talk, Nathan. We all say things we don't mean. You can't let one slip-up ruin everything. It wasn't one slip-up, I said. She tried to guilt-trip me for another 5 minutes. Told me I was being vindictive. Told me Josh had been going through a lot. That Rachel's just emotional. Then she said something that made my stomach turn. Your father and I think it might be best if you reconsider. Maybe let them stay. At least until spring. I asked her why she was involving Dad in this, and she told me something I didn't expect. He co-signed the original loan for that apartment, didn't he? I felt my heart stop for a second. No, he didn't. I paid the down payment myself. I got the mortgage myself. I signed every paper. I told them about it the day I closed. Are you serious right now? She hesitated. Well, he always felt like he should have had some say in what happened to it. He helped you with advice and support when you were looking. So now they were just making stuff up. After that call, I got another, this time from my uncle. Then my cousin. Then even a neighbor I hadn't heard from in years who apparently got looped in by Rachel. Each one of them had some version of the same message. Don't make waves. Don't cause trouble. It's just money. Let it go. It was surreal. Like I was being gaslit by a whole network of people who had never paid a cent toward that apartment, never helped me scrape together the down payment, never once asked if I was okay. And then something even weirder happened. I got a message from my old friend Cam. We hadn't talked in months. But he sent me a screenshot. Rachel had posted a long, vague status on Facebook. One of those passive-aggressive paragraphs about being betrayed by someone who was supposed to protect us. And how blood doesn't always mean loyalty. Tons of sympathy comments underneath. People offering her spare rooms. Asking if Levi was okay. In the replies, she hinted that they were being forced out by someone. Jealous of our happiness. Jealous. That's when I snapped. I pulled out my laptop and logged into the building's portal. I drafted an official notice of eviction. 2 weeks. Hand-delivered it the next morning. Didn't say a word. Josh wasn't home. Rachel answered the door in sweats, holding Levi. She took the paper without looking at it. I turned to leave, but she said something under her breath. You'll regret this. I stopped, looked over my shoulder. Will I? 2 days later, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. Inside was a photo of the apartment door, the one I owned, with the word thief scratched into it with something sharp. And just like that, this stopped being about rent. I stared at the photo for a long time. Not because I was shocked, I wasn't, but because it confirmed something I'd quietly suspected. They weren't just angry. They wanted a war. The word thief was gouged right into the wood, right below the peephole. Deep. Aggressive. Definitely not done with a key or coin. Probably something sharper. The weird part? No one had reported it. Not the neighbors, not the building management. I called the front office, and the girl on the line said no one had mentioned any damage to Unit 5D. I knew why. Josh had probably done it himself, or let it happen, and told Levi not to say a word. That kid was 5. Not stupid, but easily coached. That night I drove over. Just parked outside the building for an hour. Didn't go in. Just waited. Rachel left with Levi, headed toward her car. She didn't see me. 10 minutes later, Josh walked out with a trash bag. I got out of my car and followed. He jumped when he saw me. Probably thought I was going to swing. I held up the photo. Want to explain this? He didn't even pretend to be surprised. Guess you got what you wanted. What I wanted? You think you're the victim here, Nate? You think because you make a little money and let us live in that shoebox, you get to control our lives? I told him he had 2 days left to get out. And now he had the added bonus of paying for a new door. He laughed. Good luck proving I did anything. Didn't need to. Management had just installed new hallway cameras 2 weeks earlier. They weren't fully functional yet, but he didn't know that. His smirk faltered a bit. I turned and walked back to my car, but not before adding something. New couples already signed. They move in on the 15th. $3,000 a month. No headaches. He didn't say anything. 2 days later, he and Rachel still hadn't moved out. No boxes in the hallway, no movers. Just silence. I filed the official eviction with the city. They had 7 days after that before law enforcement could be brought in. My lawyer walked me through the process. I was covered. No lease. No formal tenant rights. They were guests. And now they were about to be guests with nowhere to go. That same evening, I got a text from my mom. Please don't do this. They're packing. They'll go. Just give them more time. I didn't reply. Then she added something weird. Your father says you might need to be careful. Josh is not handling this well. 2 hours later, I heard a noise outside my apartment. Not in the hallway, right outside my window. I live on the 3rd floor. There's a fire escape. Someone was on it. I grabbed my phone and turned off the lights. Quietly stepped into the kitchen and peeked through the blinds. There was a shadow moving. A shape crouched by the window. I opened the window fast and yelled, loud. The shape jolted and scrambled back down the ladder. I didn't see the face. But I knew. The next morning, I filed a police report. Gave them the photo of the door. Described the figure. Didn't accuse anyone outright. Didn't need to. But I did CC Josh on the email. That night, the movers showed up. Boxes. Noise. Levi crying. Rachel barking orders. Josh not speaking. They cleared out by midnight. Next morning, I went over with the keys and walked through the place. It was trashed. Scuff marks on the walls. Cupboards left open. Carpet ripped in one corner. Levi's handprints on the sliding glass door, smeared with peanut butter. They didn't leave a note. Just a single receipt on the kitchen counter, from a hardware store. One item purchased, wood carving tool. After the walkthrough, I didn't even get angry. Just stood there for a few minutes, staring at the wreckage. There was something almost poetic about it, the way they left it all behind, like a child smashing a toy they didn't want anyone else to have. The receipt was still on the counter, tucked under the switch for the kitchen light. One item. Wood carving tool. Paid in cash. It was petty. But I kept it. I emailed the photo of the damaged door to my building manager. He responded within the hour, already approved a contractor to replace it. I paid out of pocket, $900, but I wasn't worried. I'd get that money back, one way or another. Maybe not legally. But one way or another. The new tenants moved in 4 days later. A couple from out of state, young, polite, enthusiastic. They saw the place for what it was, renovated, spacious, priced fairly. They signed for $3,000 without blinking. First and last month's rent wired before I handed over the keys. I gave them a bottle of wine as a welcome gift. They texted a thank you photo with a smiling selfie by the window Josh had once taped a blanket over. The place felt clean again. Not just physically, the air, the walls, the space. Like the weight had been lifted off the whole building. I figured it was over. But it wasn't. The calls started again. First from my dad this time, not my mom. "You went too far," he said. He didn't mention the fire escape. Didn't ask about the door. Didn't apologize for pretending he had any stake in the place. Just said I should have let them stay until Levi finished the school year. Then came the texts. Not from family, but from people I hadn't talked to in years. A guy I worked with in college. Someone I knew from church growing up. Even a girl I'd gone on 2 dates with 5 years ago. All saying the same kind of thing, that I was cold, heartless, selfish. Rachel had been busy. Turns out, she'd written a long post online. Not just Facebook this time. Reddit. Instagram. A few local forums. Tagged it all with phrases like family betrayal, unjust eviction, and greedy landlord brother. Left out the rent amount. Left out the fact that there was never a lease. Left out the part where her husband possibly climbed a fire escape to threaten me in my sleep. But she posted Levi's picture. Said he cried every night. Said he asked why Uncle Nathan didn't love them anymore. It almost worked. For a second, it almost got to me. But then I remembered what I'd overheard in that cafe. Rich and stupid. Jealous of our happiness. Thief. No. I didn't owe them anything. A few days after the new tenants moved in, I ran into Rachel at the grocery store. She was pushing a cart full of frozen meals and holding Levi's hand. He waved at me. I waved back. She didn't say a word. Just stared at me like I was some stranger who'd keyed her car in a parking lot. Then she said quietly, "You sleep okay now?" I smiled. Better than ever. They're living with my parents now. Word is they're trying to save for a new place, but Rachel's still only working part-time, and Josh? He started some kind of side hustle flipping sneakers. It's not going well. I haven't spoken to them since. I won't. But every month, I get that $3,000 like clockwork. Direct deposit. Clean. No guilt. No drama. And every time I log in and see it there, I think to myself. Still the family disappointment, huh? It's strange how quiet things get once the noise is gone. 6 months without a single text from Josh or Rachel. No late-night phone calls. No snide comments. No passive-aggressive Facebook posts with captions like, "Some people only love you when you're useful." That one stayed up for 2 months before she finally took it down. The new tenants are doing great. They're this young couple from Colorado who moved out here for work. Super polite, always pay early, even sent me a thank you gift basket in December, full of wine, snacks, and a handwritten card saying, "Thanks for giving us a fresh start." They also got someone to finally fix the balcony lights Josh kept saying were not his problem. The apartment feels like it's finally alive again. It has plants now. Art on the walls. There's this bright yellow doormat that says "Come back with tacos," something Rachel would have called tacky. I smiled the first time I saw it. As for Josh and Rachel, I haven't heard a word. But I know they're still staying with my parents. One of my cousins mentioned it at a birthday party. Said Josh had a new hustle flipping sneakers online and Rachel was working part-time at a dental office reception desk. Not sure how that's going, but they've applied for 2 rentals and been denied from both. Credit score issues, apparently. My mom hasn't called since January. My dad reached out once, in February, to ask if I'd consider a short phone call with Josh to talk things through. I ignored it. There's nothing left to talk through. But then, something happened last week. I checked my mailbox expecting bills and flyers, the usual, and instead found a thick envelope with a familiar messy handwriting on the front. No return address. Inside was a folded sheet of white paper and a drawing in crayon. The drawing was a rough sketch, a tall building, a small stick figure with a beard, another smaller one holding its hand. A bright yellow sun in the corner, and a heart floating above both heads. At the top, written in giant uneven letters, Uncle Nate. No letter. No explanation. Just that. It was from Levi. No question. I stood there holding it for a long time. It caught me off guard, more than anything else had. It didn't ask me for anything. didn't try to guilt me. It was just a picture from a kid who remembered I existed. I didn't frame it. I didn't analyze it. I just walked into the kitchen, grabbed a magnet, and stuck it to the fridge. Every time I walk past it, I glance at it, not with regret, but with this strange mix of peace and clarity. Because no matter what the adults think of me, what they whisper or post or complain about, the kid knew exactly who I was. And somehow, that was enough.